Wayne Golden with the Global Net, and I'm here with a friend of mine, Ronnie Bird, who is a pastor in Socastee. Socastee.
Yeah.
This is close to Myrtle Beach. I've known Ronnie for quite a while, and one of the things that I wanted Ronnie to share with our listeners is his passion for discipleship. When you started a church, your vision was your original vision to plant other churches as well. This was what you saw as being important, right?
Exactly. In 1992, we started a church that grew very quickly, very large. And coming out of that experience, we were there for 14 years, and we saw a church just snowball and grow rapidly. What was missing in that culture was making disciples. We were baptizing people and reaching a lot of people for Christ, but came to a point where, for me, it was very difficult with my gift mix to take that church to a deeper level of really making disciples. So when we started Palmetto Shores, our goal was to start 10 churches in 10 years, and the idea was that we would build the churches deep rather than large numbers. And it's been great to watch that dream kind of take form and take shape and really come to fruition. So yeah.
So as I understand it, as a pastor, you have a lot of responsibilities, but you've made it very clear to your parishioners, your church, that you have this passion for making disciples. And you have taken this to a little different level than most people. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, and again, this really came to full shape about 5 years ago when my son, who was a college student at the time, sat down across the breakfast table one morning and said, "Dad, who are you discipling?" And so I stumbled around a little bit and talked about different groups of people that I was investing in and different churches that we had planted and investing in those pastors. He said, "No, that's not what I'm talking about, Dad. Who are you actually doing life with to intentionally lead to Christ and teach them how they could lead other people to Christ?" And so that question that day just totally redirected my ministry and my mission. And so the last 5 years, I have spent more time 3 years ago, which was kind of an overload. But the idea is to lead those men to Jesus and teach them how to lead other men to Jesus. And that literally has become the focus of my what I call my home stretch ministry. So, and over the last 5 years, I've seen that philosophy become not a plan for ministry, but a way of life.
And when you talk about invest the time, tell me what kind of investment you're making.
Most of the days in my week start at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I have one guy that I've been literally meeting with every week for the last 3 years. He's in the medical profession, and we meet early. We meet at 6 a.m. And spend an hour together, praying together, and sharing in God's Word together. Most of the men I meet with between 7 and 9 in the morning before they go to work. And I intentionally do that at least 5 days a week.
Well, I'm sure in the past 5 years, you've probably seen these men progress on different levels, right?
Exactly. Everybody's at a different level. Absolutely, yeah. And some of the guys that literally are out of no church background whatsoever, ironically, grow faster than people that are coming out of church background.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just think that when people know church language, I think it's easy to talk the talk rather than walk the walk. When people literally come out of a non-church background and have no idea what the Bible even looks like, those men seem to be so hungry. And it's interesting because those are the men that are taking it to their family, to their wives, to their elementary and high school age children, and reproducing discipleship in their own household, under their own roof. And to me, that's the most exciting part of the ministry that we've been part of in the last 5 years.
Well, two things come to my mind I want to ask you about. The first one would be this. In this process over the past 5 years, and this is off the cuff, I realize, but What have you learned? What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in regard to this process in discipling these men?
I think the most important thing I've learned is, number one, most men do not spend time praying enough and time in God's Word. And so one of my goals, I mean, to say you're praying about something is not the same as praying about something.
That's right.
And I've seen man after man after man who would say they were going to pray about something and never follow through with it. And so my main goal that I'm learning in the lives of men is to help them open up God's Word and read God's Word with a prayerful attitude, listening for what God is saying to pray about in order to put that into action in their life. And I can name you, I'm not going to name names, but I can name you a number of men. The switch has come on. No longer are they saying, yeah, I'll pray about that, but they're actually getting on their knees with their Bible open and finding God's heart in prayer. And I've watched that just change the trajectory of the lives of those men. Yeah. And that's a goal of mine. And you know, I meet 5 days a week and sometimes even 6 days a week with the idea that, you know, I'm not the teacher. God's Spirit is the teacher. I'm just a catalyst to drive men to their knees with God's Word open, to listen to what God says, and then you know, follow the heart of God. So, yeah.
Well, you know, as a pastor in your church, your vision is to be a church that makes disciples, that makes disciples
who make disciples.
Yeah, just so many other questions I could ask, and
maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yes, and I would imagine that people listening to this podcast, they're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. You know, I need to hear more about this. So you can reach Ronnie Bird. You can contact the Global Net, and if you go to our website, which is prayeradvocacy.com, you'll see our contact information. Be glad to set you up to contact, or if you want to give them.
Yeah, our website is psc.church, like Palmetto Shores Church, psc.church. There are links on there directly to me, and I would love to have follow-up conversation with you.
Well, thank you, Ronnie, and we'll be praying for you, and just look forward to what the Lord's going to do in the future, and hearing about what God's doing.
I appreciate that.
So,
God bless you.
Thank you for listening today, and again, go to our website, prayeradvocacy.com, and you can learn more about the ministry of the Global Net. God bless.